If you're living in the New York City area and your credit card minimums are eating through your paycheck every month, you're probably weighing three options: consolidate, settle, or file for bankruptcy. Most people pick based on credit score fears and still end up getting sued or garnished anyway. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how each option stacks up on lawsuit risk, total dollars paid, and how fast you can get a clean slate. I'm Richard Kiston, a bankruptcy attorney here in the New York City area, and we're gonna run a $30,000 debt example through all three paths so you can see which one fits your situation best. Let's look at our scenario based on a person who lives in New York City and earns about $70,000 a year with $30,000 in credit card debt. You're currently making your payments, but those minimums of $750 to $900 a month or more at high interest rates are squeezing your budget for rent and food. After every month, you barely have anything left because you're just paying and paying without making a dent in what you owe. You're tired of feeling trapped under this mountain of debt and want a way out, which leads you to the three most popular choices: consolidation, settlement, and bankruptcy. We'll start with debt consolidation because it sounds great to have one payment and a lower interest rate without having to default. To make this work, you need a good credit score, a steady income, and a clean payment history just to get a bank to say yes. If you get approved and pay on time, your lawsuit risk is low, but that risk comes right back the moment you miss a payment. While your payments are current, the risk of garnishment's low, but in New York, once you default and a creditor gets a judgment, they can hit your paycheck very quickly. You'll likely pay between $33,000 and $40,000 over 3 to 5 years because you're still paying interest the entire time. Repayment terms on a loan like this will usually be 3 to 5 years, and while your credit might improve by simplifying payments, there are some dangerous traps to watch out for. For many people, if you're able to qualify for a consolidation loan, it's usually a loan that can only cover a portion of the debt, leaving you to juggle multiple repayments, which often becomes a struggle once again. This path is for people with strong credit and stable jobs who haven't missed any payments yet, but it hurts those who are already behind or have income that goes up and down. The next option many people consider is debt settlement, where the big appeal is paying back less than what you actually owe without going to court. The catch is that most programs require you to stop paying your creditors so you can build up a lump sum of cash for settlements. That period where you aren't paying is exactly when collection calls spike. And in New York City, that's when creditors usually decide to sue you. Lawsuit risk is very high during those first 6 to 12 months. And if a creditor wins a judgment, they can execute a wage garnishment against your paycheck. That bite out of your income hurts a lot when you're already struggling to pay for basic necessities over 2 or 3 years. When you look at the total paid, you might settle for 40 to 60% of the debt, but then you have to add 15 to 25% in program fees. You might also owe taxes to the IRS on the amount of debt that was forgiven, which is a cost many people forget to calculate. For our $30,000 example, a 50% settlement is $15,000, but adding in fees to the settlement company and potential taxes brings that number much higher. This usually takes 24 to 36 months, and your credit will get much worse before it gets better because those missed payments will pile up on your credit report. Another way to potentially settle your debts without using a debt settlement company is by offering a lump sum payment. This would require you to contact each creditor individually, negotiate an agreed payment, and then usually make payment in full. This is for people who have access to large amounts of cash and only a few creditors, but it really hurts anyone who's already been sued, has a very tight monthly budget, or doesn't have much cash laying around. The next and last of our options is Chapter 7 bankruptcy, which works because the moment you file, the filing stops all lawsuits and wage garnishments in New York immediately. If someone's already taking money out of your paycheck, that garnishment has to stop. And although not easy to do, you might be able to get some of those recent deductions back depending on the timing. There are a few different aspects to qualify for a bankruptcy case, including really analyzing income, expenses, and property. But the protection is instant. Your lawsuit risk disappears the moment you file, and most of those credit card debts are completely wiped out at the end of the case. Instead of paying tens of thousands of dollars, you're usually looking at attorney's fees and court filing costs, which would be a small fraction of that original debt. For a straightforward case, you can go from filing the paperwork to having your debt discharged in about 4 months. You can start rebuilding your credit right after that discharge by using, obtaining, and repaying new credit. The biggest mistake I see people is waiting too long while lawsuits pile up, or trying to hide assets instead of just following the legal process. This is the best fit for people with mostly credit card debt and few assets who need the fastest, most streamlined, and most affordable way to reset their financial lives. If we look at the $30,000 scenario one more time, we can see which option actually wins for this specific case. With consolidation, you're paying up to $900 a month for 5 years and spending $40,000 total, which only works if you never miss a single payment. Settlement might cost you $20,000 and take 3 years, but you're constantly looking over your shoulder, waiting for a process server to knock on your door, or it may not be an option at all if you don't have the cash available to settle your debts. Chapter 7 takes about 4 months, costs a fraction of the debt, and uses the power of the federal court to stop creditors in their tracks. And there's one more thing you need to hear, because the myth that bankruptcy ruins your life forever keeps too many people stuck in a hole. Most people will receive offers for new credit cards even before the case is over. I always say credit is a function of income. I've seen clients file for Chapter 7 and qualify for a mortgage just 3 or 4 years later because they stayed consistent with their income and rebuilt their scores. Since bankruptcy is not the credit killer that everyone claims it is, you have to decide which of these paths actually fits your life right now. If you have a pretty good and stable income and money available each month after your necessary expenses, consolidation can work. Settlement has a fluctuating cost, but can carry a massive legal risk. So it only makes sense if you have a pile of cash ready to go. Chapter 7 is the fastest way to reset for the lowest cost, especially if you're facing lawsuits or garnishments. For many people, if you're looking for the path based on the total dollars you'll pay and how quickly you can reset, filing bankruptcy is the clear winner. Your path for debt relief is personal. The 3 main options that many people look into are consolidation, settlement, and bankruptcy. For most people, if you qualify for bankruptcy, that's going to be the fastest, most inclusive, and most affordable option. If you want help looking at your options here in New York City, you can schedule a complimentary consultation with me so we can talk through your specific situation. If you just received a legal summons or notice of a lawsuit, you need to act quickly because the clock's already ticking on your right to respond. To see exactly what you must do in the next 20 days to protect your paycheck from a judgment, watch this video next.